Good morning, everyone. It's Christy Duckett Harris here. I am super excited about my guest today. We've been obviously educating on different ways you can invest in mobile homes, and she's going to show us an amazing deal that she worked on. She's done several mobile homes, but we kind of chose this one in particular because it's a little different than anything I've shared before. So I want to start by just going through who this amazing woman is in the business and what she is actually doing. So what you can see here is her name is Christine Stokes, which we all know her as Chris. I guess Christine's a little more formal. And she actually was an accomplished solution provider with over 35 years of progressive experience in business support, finance, inventory management, warehousing, transportation, customer service for the chemical manufacturing. So this is kind of cool. She didn't start with a real estate background per se. So this gives you a little idea of like where she grew up in Sparta, New Jersey until the age of 15. And like everyone, I say it all the time, if you have not lived in Florida, you will at least live there once in your lifetime. She moved to Vero Beach, Florida with her parents who were retiring, which is happening a lot right now. I love it. She became a beach blonde babe, right? A bleach blonde beach babe. College education, computer science and business management and administration. Guys, you can see her bio here. It's super extensive, which makes me kind of chuckle because when you think of mobile homes, it's like, who's investing in these mobile homes? I mean, this is a highly educated woman in the business. She got married and has 2 daughters. She had a successful home daycare for over 7 years, and she's a recreational sports coordinator for the county. Now, she's a halfback. For those of you that don't know what that means, whenever you move from up north to Florida and you move halfway back to up north, you're considered a halfback. So I actually am too as well, Chris. She worked for the largest chemical company for 21 years. And what I love most about her, because that's of course, what she did, but who really is she? And I know this from just being friends with her and following her on social media. But it goes through her business, which my husband and I were commenting this morning, Freestyle Property Solutions. We love that name. She's a real estate redeveloper, entrepreneur, private money lender. She does it all, guys. But most of all, she loves her family. And I know that because she is a Girl Scout leader, swim instructor, wife, mother, and grandmother. She loves all of the outdoor boating, swimming, and water sports. She's into camping, gardening, crafts. She has 4 cats that she inherited through her daughter, which makes me laugh because that's usually how most people get their pets. They get left behind. She's been married for 36 years. But guys, she really wants to make a difference in the world and make it a better place, which I love. We share a lot of that commonality. She is ambitious, creative with a can-do attitude, and you have to be in this business. She loves the sense of accomplishment, and she loves to share knowledge, teach, and collaborate. And that's why she is here this morning. So I want to welcome you here, Chris. Thanks for being here.
Hey, I'm love to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, tell me about that beautiful view behind you. I was commenting on that when we jumped on.
Oh, this is Lake Norman. So I live on the west side of Lake Norman, and it's just a picture that I grabbed for my background. So it's the area.
Beautiful. Where's Lake Norman for those of us that aren't from the Carolinas?
It's north of Charlotte. It's the largest, man-made lake in North Carolina, from my
Wow.
understanding.
Which is super cool because we live in Columbia, South Carolina. We have Lake Murray, which is also a huge man-made lake. So we love the lake and the boating. If you can't live on the beach, right, you got to live near the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Exactly.
cool.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about how you got into just real estate in general. When were you working full time? Did you retire? Did you leave? What happened with that? What brought you to real estate?
So actually, my parents, when they retired, they were kind of like a little bit dabbling into it just as and I remember painting and doing things for my parents when they retired and we had these like kind of just a hobby thing. It just kept my mom busy. But in the meantime, when I was working for BASF, I got affected by reorgs 3 times. And
Wow.
this last time, they were looking to keep me, but otherwise I was given a severance package and things in this nature. Fortune Builders came into town. I took their seminar and I had to make a decision in life and say, am I staying? Am I going? And I didn't want to sit there and say coulda, shoulda, but didn't, because I've always had the plan of when I retire, that I would like to kind of flip houses and things in that nature. So it came into play because I thought, okay, when I become 55 years old, I would love to be able to retire. And it kind of happened for me, and I'm, love what I'm doing. I'm glad that I made the decision I did.
I love it. So that's cool because you mentioned like your parents had you painting and doing. I always laugh because I say I'm a product of I should hate real estate because my dad was the worst landlord and he had all these crummy rental properties. And when I come home from spring break, like he'd have to evict a tenant and he would make me paint the house. So it was like one of those things that I'm like, why do I love real estate? But it always made money regardless. So I'm kind of like you, it was in my blood. So
Yeah,
now
no, I wish I, one of those to where it was like, if I knew back then what I knew now, I would have taken over and kept their business going because otherwise they ended up liquidating it and things, because nobody was really, it wasn't active. It was just kind of dormant.
I was going to ask you that if they kept some of their rentals and stuff, because it's interesting. We were just chatting about the bulk of our real estate that we're buying now is probate. A lot of the kids, I think they're kind of the same, but they inherit the property and they've never been formally educated on what to do with it. Then there's taxes due. Everyone thinks that property is a blessing, but not really, because if it's in bad condition and you're living states across, now you have to figure out how to fix it up. You don't even know how to rent the property. So it almost becomes like this burden. So I know with your grandkids, you're always with your granddaughter doing things. I'm always trying to educate my kids on like why they should keep it. And what's cool is this week, my husband's 17-year-old is visiting from Ohio, and we've been rehabbing one of our multi-units we just bought. And it's really just telling him like what that looks like on paper and why you keep it, because we're like, ultimately, this will be yours one day. So I believe that's so important for generational
Exactly.
wealth.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
cool.
Cool.
So obviously, I'm guessing your parents didn't buy mobile homes. Maybe they did, but were they mostly dabbling in houses?
I remember three duplexes. One was like still livable, but the other ones were not livable. I remember a house in New Jersey that they did, but they ended up having like an orange grove that they purchased in Florida that they ended up not doing much with, and then a land tight tax they bought, for tax purpose or whatever, bought it for the delinquent taxes.
Yeah,
So they really didn't do that much. Oh, they had another house up, yeah, it was on the river.
that's
So
cool. You forgot. Isn't that interesting how you forget about it and then you remember? It's like, oh,
yeah, because it really wasn't doing that many, So I mean, I remember
right.
that the duplexes and the one house, but and then they just kind of didn't do it much anymore.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell me how like mobile homes, obviously you're in the Carolinas like me, so you come across them all the time. What made you go like, okay, I could do some single families and I'll still do those, but like why mobile homes? What was the appeal with that?
And knowing that there's a lot of them around, of course. At least in North Carolina, South Carolina, I guess in the South, they're more prominent, I guess you'd say. I don't know. It was one of those to where I had an investor come to me and say, "Hey, I've got this deal. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Oh my God, what am I doing? It's a mobile home and things in this nature." But I had another friend that was already flipping mobile homes and said, came with me and said, "Chris, if you're not interested, I am." And I'm like going, "Okay, I guess I better jump on this." And it was interested in that one because the other investor already started flipping it and had it totally demoed. It was empty. So there was no surprises. It was to where everything was visible. And so
Right.
I felt, so it wasn't one of those. Yeah, I had people definitely going, a mobile home, really? um, but once you do put that, and like you said, that there's a lot less expensive. You're not really always having to get a lot of permits because you're not changing things. You're just putting it back together. And it just worked, in that first project. I know it was, I said to myself, this is going to be my educational project, my first, feet, get my feet wet, and learn the process. Because even though you're learning and trying to get a deal along the way, you finally get one, you go, oh crap, but so
Yeah. And then the
and
next one comes and you're like, okay, let me finish this one to make sure this actually works before I move to the next one.
yeah. So no, it was great because I said to myself, well, if I make $10,000 on this one bonus, because it was taken as my educational project. And I did. I actually made $12,000 on it.
That's awesome.
And of course, these are smaller deals.
Right.
they're not like these big mansions or bigger houses that are $300,000. I got into that one at 55,000 and I put like $30,000 into it. And ended up turning around and selling it for over 100,000. So it worked out. It
Which is
worked out.
cool too, because like when you mention that, a lot of people think I can't get into real estate. And I hear this all the time because I don't have the money. I don't have $300,000. I don't have 400. But with this, there's a lot of people that maybe have some retirement sitting or money in the bank. And they're like, when you say that, they're like, oh, I've got 80,000. I could probably make this happen. So it like makes it a entry level business, I think, for a lot of people.
Right.
And I tell people there are some like little differences and nuances. So like when you got into the mobile homes, what were like your top learning lessons? Like these are a little bit different. Like what things did you see that were different maybe from houses, which it could be fixing up or it could be financing? Like what did you kind of find out along the way? Because I know you hit some blocks.
Well, yeah. And of course, like, a lot of the like bathtubs are smaller. So you have to go to the mobile home stores to get that. You can't just go to Lowe's. Um, windows in some cases, but I'm finding with other mobile homes, I am able to get regular windows from Lowe's and things in this nature. So there's only a few things that I find that you have to go to a mobile home dealer to get. Outlets and switches if you want to just replace those.
Right.
So it was mainly the bathtubs and mobile home switches and switch plates.
So simple stuff, nothing crazy. What did you
No.
learn about financing on them, even like on the buy side and the sell side? Because sometimes that's a little tricky, because we know we both encountered this. What's cool about the market now is we're getting a lot of cash offers. So some people are coming in and just buying cash. So we don't even necessarily have to worry about the financing on the back end to buy, but there are some financing nuances. So what were some things you kind of learned along the way on that?
Well, I was fortunate to have a HELOC. So on my first project,
Perfect.
I kind of financed it myself. And as far as going out on the back end, yeah, it's not always an FHA loan type of thing, but they are able to get a confidential loan, things like that. Um, it's the third, well, I'm on my third mobile home. So I mean, my third mobile home that I'm in active right now is still in the process. So, and I'm hoping to keep this one as a rental. But the other two, I really didn't have much problems as far as financing and whatnot.
Awesome. Good. And that's a good point. We talk about lines of credit, right? Like even if you're buying a house, you're using private money typically. There are some hard money lenders. Of course, I brought this up before. I'm hoping like a lot of the hard money lenders will maybe come around now, with the manufactured homes, because what happens is a lot of them don't fund them. So it
Right.
leaves you only using personal money, lines of credit, private money, which you should
Right.
be getting anyway. You should be building that. So it doesn't matter.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I'm thinking full circle. People are starting to have like a different feeling about manufactured homes. I'm seeing like even some of like the nationwide lenders like Fannie Mae, they're changing guidelines. And I've got a great local mobile home lender, and she just sent me some of the new guidelines on HUD. And it's actually like a little bit easier to get financing or do certain things when you're moving homes. So I was happy to see that. It's like, okay, things are changing. They're starting to
Yeah,
see
yeah. No,
differently.
and I had an appraiser, a friend of mine come out and she was giving me different pointers that she has recently learned with an FHA loan on a single wide that the pillars, it cannot be dry stacked. They have to be
Oh.
cemented, and some other requirement about the underpinning, or not the underpinning, but the crawl space area. You cannot have anything under there, other than the vapor barrier, which I thought was interesting.
Huge. And that's huge because you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't even know that if you bought something. And I think it's important we talk about team building. It's really important to have these people that are specific to manufactured homes. Because
Hmm.
if they don't understand it, a lot of times they'll tell you can't do it. Even agents, oh no, you can't do that. You're not able. And then when you really talk to someone that knows what they're talking about, it's like, thank you for telling me that, because this really isn't that big of a deal. But if I hadn't known it and I went to sell this house, this would have been an issue.
Yes, no, I had that happen on the last mobile home where I had the home inspector, the buyer's home inspector, come out and was trying to tell me that my deck was not attached to the house. And anybody knowing mobile home and decks, they are not to be attached to the mobile home. They are
Correct.
to be freestanding. So I had to fight them a little bit and have them educate them to say, and
Wow.
provide them with the information to say, oh no, they are to be freestanding. It's Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting because, a lot of people believe because these are the professionals, right? So I tell
Yeah.
people it's an inspector and appraiser. So in our mind, like these are professionals, and a lot of them are, but like they don't know everything, just like I don't. But
Right.
then they start telling you this, and you could have believed him and said, okay, he's right. I mean, he's
Yeah.
the person telling me. So it's always good to find and find a manufactured home lender locally and talk to them because they know the lending criteria and what needs to happen and do.
Right.
The mobile home store you mentioned, like buying parts in a mobile home store that are specific, a lot of those people know certain things. I mean, it's a pretty cool industry when you dive into it. And I believe, like you said, with the permitting, it's so much more simple because if we're removing something in a home, it's not a load bearing wall. We don't have to worry about this. It's very simple.
Right.
So,
Right. Right.
I get the question, do you use a licensed GC? Well, I want to use somebody professional, but I could use a handyman because a lot of the
Mhm.
stuff isn't really necessarily licensed stuff.
Right. 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 Now, the one thing that I was learning from my mobile home supplier, a belly board, which
Ah,
is the actual vapor barrier that is attached under the house.
instead of on the ground.
And it's good to have both, but in the
Right.
meantime, not realizing, you see most people come through with duct tape or some sort of tape that really doesn't hold the vapor barrier that's attached to the bottom. And where this belly board, it's a roll of basically, I don't know what you call it, plastic, adhesive tape,
Yeah, great.
that really works well, that came
It's
into.
amazing because all the insulation is under the home because it's raised off the ground. So once that barrier comes off, that's when you get pests and animals like ripping cats ripping through. But like little things like that are huge. The older homes, I tell people the cool seal on the roof. We just bought a 1972 mobile home and the roof is not shingled. So you have to know the cool seal is the product you roll. It's almost like a tar, which
Right.
sounds crazy, but like this stuff is cheap and great. So it's just
Yeah.
knowing those certain things.
No, and I really found recently, like with HVAC, if that vapor barrier is not sealed well underneath the flooring, then your HVAC system's going to be leaking because of condensation.
Correct. Especially
You
here in
know,
the South, because we're very humid. It gets
mm,
super hot. We're like coming up on the month of humidity.
so you have to make sure the underpinning or I'm sorry, the vapor barrier is really sealed well underneath the house.
That's
For
super important. And I'll tell you, like, you think these
Mhm.
mobile homes are so energy efficient, like in your mind, because it's like it's a box, it's small. But if those things aren't done, it can be like very inefficient and your bill can be absurd. So
Right.
I found that you lose air a lot of ways within those manufactured homes. So it's really important to have everything sealed off properly.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
tell me a little bit about how you found your deals, like the couple that you've done. Have you been marketing for them? Is it word of mouth, referral, wholesalers? Where have you found most of them?
The first one was kind of through the internet. I kind of responded
Oh,
to a post that says, "Hey, is somebody interested in a house in Lincolnton?" And I said, "Well, I am." And another investor happened to see my post and connected with me and said, "Hey, I've got a house that I need to offload because I've got too many on my plate." And that's how I got my first one. Second one came up with a wholesaler. So I found it
nice.
on Craigslist and Marketplace and was able to get it through a wholesaler. My third one, again, it's another wholesaler that it came up through. Um, and so that it's a matter of just finding those deals through wholesalers. I really don't do much
Cool.
marketing. I let all my wholesalers, I connect with a lot of wholesalers that they can provide the deals and whatnot. And,
Because
just
you
keep
can't do
my eyes open.
everything. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can't do everything all the time, nor do you want to. So I love that because now you've made these good connections. They know you're a valid buyer, so they're going to bring you stuff. So
Right.
that's great for anyone watching this because it's like, hey, if I don't have the money to rehab these, I can't find the private money. Maybe I could just wholesale these homes. So like you
Hmm.
could do both ends of the business if you want to do it. Now, what have you noticed in your market? So again, guys, we're in April 1st, April Fools 2022. Um, with the prices in the last couple years? Because I know you did your first home a couple years back. Have you noticed like a huge incline with the price?
Just like regular single family home or any other real estate property, yes, they've definitely increased in selling prices and whatnot. I want to say that I was like at 110 per square foot
Wow.
originally. And my recent property that I sold, that I think I was at, oh my gosh, now I forget. Hold on a second. Let me calculate that
Yeah,
real
look, I
quick.
was gonna say, calculate it up. You're good. We got all the time in the world.
And so it was like at 130 a square
Wow.
foot, so it's definitely have gone up. Um yeah,
And
it was
how
crazy.
far are you from Lake Norman, like actually proximity wise?
Physically, a bird fly, 5 miles.
Wow, which is cool
Um
because that whole outer perimeter area of Charlotte's growing everywhere. I mean, it's growing into South Carolina as well, which is cool to see because this is a great model for, a rental if you kept it. You could flip it, a retiree, right? Somebody downsizing that wants to be close to the lake but doesn't want to necessarily pay on the lake prices, like you're in that area. So this is a great little investment area.
oh, definitely. No, I mean, especially when it's an easy commute to Charlotte. It used to be a nice little quiet secret, when we first moved up here 20 some odd years ago. But it certainly has grown. And people are realizing that this is an area that they can get out of the city. Taxes are much lower than Mecklenburg County area and things.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
it's,
Second home, right? Rental, vacation
yeah,
rental, what you're going to do with your one. Well, I'm
right.
going to pull up because you're going to share one deal in particular. So I want you to kind of walk through it. So I'm going to pull that up for you so you can actually see everything. And then we'll kind of go from there. So give me a minute. Okay, perfect. So tell me a little bit about this deal and I'll ask questions along the way. So I'm giving the camera to you.
Perfect. So this is what we found, or the wholesaler had, for 29. As you see, it's a 1950, 69 mobile home that was overgrown. Vines were taken over. It was empty for more than 4 years. We
Wow.
actually thought about rehabbing it. We thought it would be a cute vintage, keeping the same paint scheme and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, but once we got into demoing it, whatnot, it was too far gone. My contractor was just like, Chris, I don't even know how to quote you on this. So we said, okay, but we love the property. I mean, look at that,
The
to
land
where
is
you're
beautiful. Yes.
overlooking that cow pasture in the back, so that there's a fence right there at that tree right behind the garage down at the bottom of the hill. So we have demoed it since, and
Okay.
has brought in a used mobile home. We found a mobile home dealer that's in the area that sells
Okay.
used mobile homes. So we kind of demoed one and put a new one in place.
Okay. So talk about this like process because that sounds like, oh, cool. We'll just demo this, pull this off. How did you find, because I see on here, you're going to go through some like prices that you paid of stuff, but like, how did you market to find someone to demo it? Because obviously demoing means not just pulling the whole structure away. I'm guessing you had to break it to pieces if I'm
Yeah,
right.
fortunately, I've had some connections with a few demos, a demo. So I called around just to get some quotes and prices and whatnot, and found that, demoing, getting a permit for it wasn't so bad. And just knowing the process with that, once you find your contractor that can come in and tear it down and move it all away, that they can apply for the permit, and then they go through the process of inspecting to make sure that the electric and water is turned off and disconnected. And then once it is demoed, then the county comes back out to verify that the structure has been removed, and that they have to prove that the dump tickets, all the debris, was disposed of properly.
Got it. Okay. So did they break it down kind of piece by piece, the exterior first with the metal shelling and then the wood, or were they able to like, what did they do? How did that look?
Oh, I kill myself because I wanted to be there for it so badly, but I
I
had to
was
go
going to
to.
ask, I can't believe you don't have a video now.
Yes, actually, my partners, they were there and took a video of it, and so I
Cool.
was just amazed when they sent it to me. That was just like,
Wow.
wow, they just kind of pushed it over and then just took this machine and picked it up in pieces and put it in their dumpster and hauled it all
Wow.
away.
So nothing really crazy. It's just like kind of just pulling the pieces back because really, guys, this thing is like wood, metal, right? I mean, it's pretty simple, I feel like, because it's not huge. But getting a professional and someone licensed is key because you could get in a lot
Yes.
of trouble if you're demoing this probably not legally, right? However, I will say I did own a mobile home park, and we did have a guy that just like demoed stuff, take it apart, and then then we called the county, you know.
Right, right. No, and then once we decided that we were going to demo and bring in another mobile home in its place, then we were trying to evaluate, all right, do we do a like kind? Do we get a bigger one? Do we, what's going to be the best value? What's going to be the most simplest? And realize that the most simplest was going to be just put a like kind one in place,
So this
and
is a good point. So you had land, and if this was in a mobile home park, it could be a lot different because we had this issue. So we bought an older mobile home park that had, I think, 16 units in it, and they were all like 60s, 70s models, which are much smaller than brand new 2000 models. So when in a park, you only have so much space for each home. So when we started removing homes, we had to put the smallest, newer models in because we couldn't fit the new ones, right, to the standards. The good for you is you have all this land. So were you able to really go in and put whatever you wanted? Because also I know like with septic tanks, sometimes you can only have a certain size septic, right, for a certain size home. So
right.
did you have to kind of look at that too?
Yeah, so of course, the second part on this is the septic permit. The county did not have any septic records on file.
Okay.
So that just means that either it was, old past their computerized age records. So it's a matter of hiring a septic company to come out and locate where the existing system is. And for the company that I work with, they only charge $300
Nice.
to do that. So then once they mark, locate it, then the county comes out and then verifies that it is existing, that there is all there. The septic company can inspect the tank. And so fortunately with this septic system that was there on the land, they were able to tell me, yeah, your tank looks great, type
That's
of thing.
fabulous. Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome. That was a huge money save, I'm sure.
right. Now, if we were going to expand it from the existing mobile home that was on there, which was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, we would have had to expand the drain field on the system to allow for more bedrooms. But so we decided not to do that and just go with a like kind and keep it as a 2-bedroom, 1-bath.
Smart. And this is on city or county water, or is there a well there for this?
There's also a well.
There is also a well. Okay. Did you get the well checked out, or did you just assume everything's good with it and running it, you know?
Um, that's the funny part because, I just was in the back of my mind thinking, oh, there's got to be something wrong with this well or what have you.
Yeah. We got off too easy. There's got to be something else. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, and what was interesting and what was the hard part was we were hoping to get temp power,
Ah,
while
yes.
we were rehabbing. And unfortunately, and I was amazed that with a mobile home, you're not allowed to have temp power.
Wow. Not unlike a house where you can, right? So that's something,
Right,
that's a good
right.
takeaway. That's a very good.
So that blew my mind because I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So unfortunately, you have to working with generators to get it back together. So we were not. I mean, I guess we could have put the generator on the well pump to really find out if it's working, but we decided not to, and we just wait till the power turns on. And so once the power turns on, lo and behold, the well worked. And
Amazing.
I was amazed. And so right now, actually, we found yesterday that we had to put in a new pressure tank.
Okay.
So we had to put that in the PVC was brittle, but we were getting water, but not through the pressure tank.
Yeah. Yeah. How much did that cost to do that?
For the pressure tank.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, I didn't even get the receipt because my contractor went out
That's
yesterday.
okay. That's okay. No, this is good. I mean, what I'm seeing right here, I love because it's like, okay, permit, inspection, septic permit, septic company, even the mobile home permit. It's like, guys, you're like below $1,000, which is super cool. If this was a house, these numbers would look 2 to 3 times more than this easily on any of this stuff. So I love that, like the affordability is there.
Yeah, no,
With
and I
that.
even called a well pump company because I was just like, okay, we're looking to see that we're getting some settlement. We might be looking like we're getting some mud, and they're like, yeah, unfortunately, you have to let the system kind of flush itself, and it
Correct.
sometimes takes like 2 months.
You're like, oh, great. That's not what I wanted to hear. Put a filter on this thing now.
Yeah, but I was afraid to go to a water conditioning company because they're going to want to sell you something right away,
A
and it
hundred
might
percent.
might not be necessary because it just needs to be flushed because it hasn't been used for years.
And that's super true because I grew up on a farm. So my parents' house is on well and septic, right? And even sometimes I tell my husband it's the purest drinking water because sometimes you do get the sediment, but they have a filter trap and you just have to, but the water tastes so
Right.
good. It's great. Nothing
Yes.
like city
Yes.
water. So
Right. No, so I put a $30 filter on the system just to
cool.
catch that.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about this soil and torque test. What's that all about?
And so when the mobile home mover comes out, the permit portion of his move is to okay, set it up and and get the footers, get the setbacks and things of that nature. So they have to go through their tests of and inspections to verify that they did it correctly, and make sure that the land and the footers and the setbacks and things in that nature are done properly. So this soil and torque test is something that they have to go through and actually post on the house. So when the inspector comes out, that they have to see this visually.
Okay, cool. Tell me about, because I know you found a used local mobile home dealer. How did you kind of build a relationship with them and were you able to get a good deal on a home from them?
Oh my goodness, yes. I mean, it was one of those, it was a referral to us saying, hey,
Cool.
there's this guy up in Lincolnton. I'm like, oh gosh, really? You know? Um, and yeah, the mobile home was $7,000. It already had a new roof. It already had new windows. It already had new doors. And really, basically, all we had to do is give it a new paint job. We updated the cabinetry. We updated the bathroom fully, the flooring, and we painted the exterior. And so it was great. So here
Cool.
you
And
can
I've
see
got some
where,
pictures of how awesome. I mean, that's like awesome. Those connections are everything. Can you imagine buying like years ago a house for $7,000 that was livable, that you're like, oh, okay, we could put some money in this and it's going to be amazing. And it does. I love the before and after because the before really isn't that bad, but with a fresh coat of paint. And tell me what type of underskirting you used under the bottom because that looks beautiful. That makes it really look like a house.
yeah, no, we were really stressing over this one because I didn't want your cheap looking underpinning,
Right.
but I didn't want to go with your brick and stone or cement blocks
Because
because
it's
that would,
expensive.
it's going to be a lot more expensive. So I found
Right.
that Lowe's has this product for underpinning that there's different ones that you can buy that look like rock. So it's actually like vinyl siding type of install.
Love it. And you went
And
in also and put like awnings over top of the windows to give it more of like a house looking a nice front little deck.
they were actually came with the house.
Oh,
So
that's so cute.
so that little roof, the 6x8 roof that's over the front door, came with the house along with the little awnings. So, and then since this after picture, because I sent this to you a week ago,
Yes.
we have now built a 8x12 deck where that little ladder is at.
Right.
And we're hoping to put a little hot tub there to really be attractive to people to come out from the city and enjoying the enjoying the country. It is so peaceful out there. I love it every time I go out there, just look upon the cows out there in the pasture and the
Ah,
neighbors have chickens next door. And it's just so nice and
it's
relaxing. I,
beautiful. And
I,
I love that you put these awnings in this roof over the doors because from my experience with the mobile homes, you always have leaks in the windows over time and the front door. Like those are two of the most common places we have issues, and the guttering you put up because a
uh,
lot of that starts to come through the center wall over time. So that
mm,
was genius because that alleviates really a lot of your cost long term.
right, right. Now this particular mobile home originally had a window unit for the AC.
Right.
But I decided to go ahead and put a full-fledged unit in. So that way it's a whole HVAC system instead of a window
People
unit.
love that too, and you'll have less complaints for people staying because this is actually going to be, is this your short-term rental property that you're going to be?
This is gonna what we're gonna be turning into.
Which is super awesome. So we're looking at demo costs 4.3K, purchase and use mobile home for 7K, move and setup 3.1, plumbing connections 1.6, super cheap. Electrical connections 2K, needed a new service panel and pole. So obviously the electric company, I'm guessing, brought that out and set all that for you and did that.
Actually, we thought that we were gonna, when we first bought the property, we were hoping to get the well going right away.
Right.
Unfortunately, we got ahead of ourselves, and before the electrician was able to, well, back up. Um, the power company came out to turn on the power for the well, because that's the only thing that we were going to have connected at the
Right.
power pole. The service box was so corroded that we needed to have a new service panel on the pole. So the electrician started that installation of the new service panel on the pole. But next thing, like I said, we got ahead of ourselves. We got the new mobile home in place before we were able to get that done and get the well going on its own. And so then the county said, oh no, you have a mobile home here and we can't turn any power on until you get the mobile home all finished.
You're like, oh, great. I wish I would
Yeah.
have.
Learning things along the way, if we had
Yeah.
delayed moving the mobile home in place, we could have verified that the water was running properly and everything was fine, and we could have had water at least on the property. But
Right.
we were so excited to get things going and started and moving in place that it happened. So
And it's not a life or death. It's like a cool, like now we know, and we could still continue with a good old generator, whichever good investor or GC has one of those laying around somewhere for
exactly.
something. So
And thank God we had nice neighbors to say, hey, can we get a bucket of water once in a while? And they said yes.
I love that. Well, and what's cool about this, like you said, it's in a beautiful country setting. I love it. It's like something you, because you live local, could also utilize. You could block a weekend and be like, hey, I just want to go stay there and not really go far out of town, but just be out, which is really nice as well.
Oh, I can't wait to show you, to share with you the inside interior pictures, because I really didn't. Um, yeah, we just recently staged it all with the furnitures and whatnot for the temporary
Mhm.
living
That
arrangements.
is awesome. So when you look at this, okay, so tell me, I know we talked about roundabout, it doesn't have to be the exact number, but you just got an appraisal. What did it appraise for and how much are you all in currently around?
It appraised for 100,000,
Okay, awesome.
and all in, I think we're at 75.
That's awesome. So like worst case scenario, you were like, maybe we don't want to keep this and we just decide to sell it. I mean, personally, even though it appraised for 100 in this market, you could probably sell it for well over 100 right now. I
Hmm.
guarantee somebody come in and scoop this up cash. What
Right.
I'd love about this is your short-term renting. So now if you do down the line decide to sell it, it could be for retail sale or it could be to another investor that wanted to keep this as a short-term rental, which is great. So
Right.
what are you thinking your nightly rate when you're kind of, I know you have a business partner, so they're handling a lot of that, but what do you feel like you could probably get nightly on this on average?
Oh my goodness, once everything's in place with a fire pit and a hot tub, and I'm looking to put a ping pong table down in that garage, just the amenities out there. I mean, I'm thinking that there's easily going to get $150 a night for a weekday,
I
and
would
probably,
agree.
weekend, probably more.
So tell me about the area because we had talked about like there's really not a lot of hotels or anything around, right? Like housing wise. So which is really cool because it's almost like an untapped market. And you're one of the only options, which to me seems great, supply and demand. So um,
Right.
what's around that area that kind of brings people to that area?
Well, not only the lake and the accessibility of the lake, the old Lincoln County dirt track is very close. In Lincoln County, there's a beautiful winery that I would have them go to. There's just so much access. I mean, 20 minutes to Charlotte, and get it down to whatever Charlotte city. I'm not a city person, so in my 20 years, I can probably count on two hands how many times I've really gone into the city.
Right,
But
agreed.
but I see it as just a nice country getaway,
Literally. Yeah,
it
I
really
love it. I
is.
mean, I think people local, like the wine vineyards, that's cool because you could just tap out for a weekend and be like, we're close and I could go to this. I mean, and again, I know we were talking about this earlier. I'm finding like with our houses, it's random. Like we're just coming to visit family and we just want a nice place. We have kids that they can just run.
Yeah,
So I feel like this is a great space, out here for
right.
that.
Right. And if you're a
Awesome.
NASCAR fan, I mean, it's an easy, I don't know, gosh, I want to say maybe half hour, 45 minutes to the
Oh, that's
racetrack,
nothing.
Charlotte racetrack.
Which is really cool because, a lot of these people come in with RVs or different things that they have to park, and you're not really going to rent a house in a neighborhood with an HOA. If you're coming in for
Yeah.
NASCAR, like campers, because a lot of the people camp out there, like that's nice for just space to have that, which is super cool. I
Crowder's
love
Mountain,
it.
some of the state parks are not even a half hour away. So there is so many things to be able to have access to.
Well, this is so cool. So I'm excited when you get everything like finished and up and launched to like share it on my social media. But for people watching this, if they wanted to follow like any deals that you're doing or kind of watch the progress, what would be the best way for them to find you on social media?
So Freestyle Property Solutions, Facebook is
Okay.
where I mostly put things out there. And just Google me. I have a website, but I can't guarantee that it's always updated. Where my Facebook page is mostly the one that I update the most and
Yeah,
show
I
people
track
what
you
I've
on
been doing.
there. I love when people post pictures because then it's like, I remember this project. What's going on? And then it's cool because once you get your short-term rental launch, post the link on there. And maybe some of these viewers are like, hey, I love NASCAR. I love to drink wine. I'd love to check this place out. So,
Or just chill in the country in a hot tub, right?
which is great. And open land. I mean, I grew up on a farm, so you know how much I love the country. So I totally
Yes.
agree.
Yes.
Now, when you're looking at your business and like the growth of it, what were your goals when you were coming into 2022? What do you want to kind of accomplish in this year? Or what energy do you want to put out there?
So definitely for 2022, because I started in 2019 and have developed and grown my business. Now I'm getting to the point of going, I need to really get my financials in order and, for budget properly and understand how to do all those type of things. So I'm really getting a handle of that type of thing. But it's really, some of my goals were to add to my rental portfolios. So I do have a 401k rental side of things, which is hands off, but it's not always easy to make contributions and to grow that side. So I'm getting more into the active side rentals, still passive, but so I'm hoping to add like three rentals this year, and this will be my first one.
That's awesome. Like one a quarter, right? Like if you do keep
Hmm.
doing it the rate you're going. Well, I laugh when you talk about the first thing you want to accomplish this year. Every time I have someone on, their first thing is, I want to really focus on my books and getting organized because it really is so hard to find the balance on. I'm looking for a property, I'm renovating a property, and now I'm spending all these extra days organizing my business because that's always the thing that gets pushed to the side.
Yeah.
Like you are
Yes.
no different than myself or anyone else, especially because
No.
time is almost here as well. So
Yeah, no, it's just to really get those team members on board because I was thinking that my CPA that I had wasn't really the best one. And so I was interviewing other CPAs and realizing that, oh my goodness, there is many differences in all of them and not always on board with real estate, thinking that, oh, you need to do a not so much a goodness, God, or capital gains, where we
yes,
do
I was
the,
going to say a 1031 exchange, but capital gains,
yes,
knowing
that's
what
where they're
you're
trying to push me. And I'm like, no, 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 I don't do that. I do, profits and losses on my inventory, you know.
right. So sometimes it's just educating yourself. Like I find that a lot because just like the appraiser, the inspector that was talking to you about the deck, same thing. It's like when you're not educating yourself and they're telling you something, you want to believe that they're giving you the best advice because
Yeah.
they're the accountant. But then sometimes just even getting online and watching videos and learning from someone else is your best tool because you can go in and question some of the things.
Right.
I would agree with that 100%.
And I finally got a payroll company going. Yay. I am.
Yay. And you can just put that on the back burner because we've done that for many years now. And that has been such, I mean, honestly, if I had to do the payroll, it probably wouldn't have happened. That's the God's honest truth. I had to. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I really don't want to pay someone this and that. But then when I looked at it, I was like, you know what? It's done. That just
Right.
means I need more deals. So I just need to focus on what I'm good at. So
Yep.
good.
Yep.
That's great. Are you taking any amazing trips this year? I know COVID has kind of held us down for 2 years now. Are you going anywhere fun this year or have any trips planned? You just got back from
Um,
Florida, I think, over the holidays or not too long ago. I remember.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go down there to Florida for to see my daughter that recently moved down there in
Yes.
December. And so she asked me for her birthday if I could come down and visit. So I'm doing that middle of April.
Oh, good.
I've got a canoeing trip booked that I have to pinpoint. I've got another trip booked in Hilton Head. So
Fun. I mean, that's why we
Yeah.
do this, right? Like you want to make money, but you also want to enjoy and kind of schedule when you want to. So that's good. Take
I
advantage
have a
of it.
couple dream trips that we're still trying to plan. So it's coming along.
Good. Well, I
Oh,
thank you so much for being here. You're a wealth of knowledge. You're amazing. You're a woman in the industry, which I love and adore. And I love like your background because it's amazing. And then to see like now I'm doing mobile homes and this is working and this is awesome. So thank you for sharing that
yes.
for everyone.
Yes. No, thank you for having me. I love to be able to share and be able to acknowledge, like my bio kind of said, that it's fun to share and teach other people's and collaborate and the whole bit. So I
Cool.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, all right, guys, thank you for being here today. And I look forward to seeing you back on the podcast soon.